Tariki 6 mwezi wa 11 1999 mzee alikuwa Sangaro na akakuita.
Ripoti ilifikia kama wamefika mtoni, wakaniambia kwamba baba yako anapigwa.
So they said, we didn't beat the principal. We have paid a fine. We must beat him so that he can use the money.
Kaniambia mama, pole. Nikastuka. Mzee amekufa ama nini?
So those were issues. But they took him and marched him from his house.
Waliingia kwa gate wakapiga watchman akapita na yeye, wakaingia kwa ofisi, alikuwa kwa ofisi. Yeye akakaa tu kwa ofisi. Driver akakuja akimwambia kwamba toka tutoroke. Baba anawaambia nimekosa nini ndio nitoroke.
Years ago, a principal of a technical training college in Goma is attacked and killed by his own students. At the heart of the killing was a political tussle over land and power. Tonight on Case Files, the trusting principal and why he had to die.
The second week of November 1999, students of a technical training college in Bungoma County were sent home after the bizarre killing of the college's principal. Paul Kapwanyela had been murdered by an angry mob that his peers would later say he had trusted so much. Born in Bungoma County, Paul Kapwanyela's life has been described by those who survived him as a man who loved his work. Paul Kap was posted to Kikuyu Technical Training College but was acting in the same capacity as Sangalo Technical Training Institute until his brutal murder 2 years later. The son, Kizito Wanyela, at the time a young teacher, put up with the father at the institution staff quarters. Kizito says the father was a hard-working civil servant, but the institution he was heading was faced with various challenges, among them the piece of land that it sat on.
Dakara niambia hii ni vita, niko kwa vita kali by the community, by some of the staff members ambao wananipiga vita, by even the politicians ambao wananipiga vita kwa ajili ya hii shamba. Na akaniambia kwamba ataendelea hata koma. Sasa hapo nilikuja nikauliza na ni nini, akaniambia shida iko kwa title deed ya institute. Aliniambia tu hivyo. This institute had no title deed all these years. Ilikuwa haina title deed. So people were coming there, wanakuja wanalima ndani, wamepanda miwa zao, sugarcane. Na ni kama hizo miwa ziko zinafaidi hao watu. Kwa hivyo kwa nasema ninafaulu kwamba nikipata title deed, all these people will go out and invest elsewhere. And this institute will now start growing. Itaanza kukua kwa sababu hii mashamba hii itakuwa nini? Inalinda, inakuwa shule. Inaendelea kukua. So akaniambia kwamba as long as they are fighting me, I'll never give up until I get a title deed.
Months before he met his death, Kizito says a group of students paid the father a rather unusual visit at night. The students were many, according to the son.
Wakija kumvamia. Ilikuwa karibu saa 3 usiku hivi. Mara ya kwanza. Tulimaliza tukula sapa, naangalia TV, tukaanza kusikia mayoyo nje, kelele. Ile kitu ilifanya baba alitoka akafungua mlango. Alipotoka nje na walikuwa wamefika kwa gate, na pia mimi nikafanya nini? Pia mimi nikatoka. So tulipotoka wakafika kwa gate wakasema, "Ako na askari." na wakasimama. Mbona hawakutuambia kwamba wako na askari? Hii ndio swali walizungumza. So wakati waliuliza hivi, na baba naye pia akajoka akiwaambia, of course I need security. Hakuambia kwamba ni kijana yake, I need security. So sasa tumekuja kufanya nini? Tumekuja kufanya nini bwana? Tuingie. Wengine nasema hapana, tusiingie, lakini askari tuweze kaingia. So wakatoka wakaenda. So the second time walipokuja naye, wakati nilikuwa nimetoka,
The son says he received a call from someone informing him about an incident that was ongoing at the campus. It would later emerge that the principal had for the second time that week been frog-marched by the students at the institute who had accused him of running down the learning institution. The college was closed by the area district commissioner after the incident. Imelda Wanyela, the wife to Paul Cap Wanyela, told Casefiles the husband had told her he wanted the entire family to travel to Sangalo Technical Institute for dinner.
Sijui alituitia nini, lakini akasema mkuche for supper watoto na mama. Kaenda tukapika, tukakula, tukakaa mpaka saa 6 ya usiku kama tunaongea tu. Halafu tukalala. Asubuhi yake tukajaribu kurudi nyumbani.
The dinner at the campus came just a few days after a 2-month-long closure of the institute after the students' unrest. The current principal, at the time a lecturer at the institute, told Casefiles the institution had readmitted all the suspended students, but some of the issues the students had raised, among them having the current principal sent parking, appear not to have been addressed.
This institution was actually having a skeleton of things. Facilities were just scanty. We didn't have enough classrooms. We didn't have a library. We didn't have adequate hostels. But because the only way you could get more revenue was to increase enrollment, the principal enrolled more and more. So there was a lot of congestion. And the students started thinking that the cause of the problems was the principal. Why was he bringing them here and they had nothing?
4 days later, on the 9th day of November 1999,
kwa Monday, rehearsal day ya KCP, mimi nikawa sasa natembea nikasema nipite kwanza kwa office ndio niende wapi? Niende kwa kusimamia mtihani. Sasa kufika tu hapo na akaniambia kwamba principal wa Sangara amepigwa. Kwanza akaniambia principal sema tu Wanyela amepigwa. Sasa mimi akilangi kasema Wanyela mgani? Atakuwa na Nairobi. Kuna Nairobi. Nikasema ndio, nakumbuka baba alisema nenda Nairobi.
Elmeda received news from a neighbor informing her that the husband had been taken ill.
Kwenda huko kapata staff yote ya Sangalo wako hapo. Wakaniambia mama pole. Nikastuka. Mzee amekufa ama nini? Haya. Secretary yake anaitwa Ruto Walutira. Akanishika mkono. Kanipeleka pale wameweka mzee.
Imelda says she was not prepared for what she was about to encounter.
Nilipoingia hivi nikastuka. Alikuwa vibaya sana. Nikajaribu kumshika wapi. Ilikuwa tu damu inatoka tu.
The husband had been badly injured. Angry students had turned on him with kicks and blows.
Alikuwa hapumui, yani kupumua na pumua, lakini alikuwa haongei. Nikimgusa hapa anakustuka tu. Nikimgusa hapa anastuka tu. Lakini haongei. Sasa namwambia baba, wapi? Amefunga tu macho. Sasa alikuja akaanza kuminduce. Akaanza kutapika. Sasa kutapika kuna tapika ile breakfast ya asubuhi hiyo pamoja na damu. Na damu tena inatoka. Sasa walipofanya wakadhani kwamba atapumua sasa, ni kama ilikuwa imemchoko. Wakasema acha huyu atapumua sasa. Mpe muda ataamka atawaambia nini. Mimi nikakaa hapo, nilipoona inafika saa 4, saa 5, hapo bado hajaamka. Saa 6, hapana.
That morning, the principal had returned to the college just a day after 9 students he had singled out as the ringleaders of a past unrest in the college had been issued suspension letters. The student had not left the school's premises.
But later in the day after school, letters were released to suspend 9 students. But it was after school. I think they were being given to the students by the watchmen. So what followed, the students did not go home. And they said, now, what have we done? We came with our parents, we have been readmitted, we have paid a fine. Now they want us to, they are suspending us. What is the reason? So I understand they grouped and were telling people, now we know the principal is after our life, and we will not go without hurting him. And it confused everybody. About 200 of them had come back.
Chrysanthus Wanyonyi, the current principal, says he watched the events unfolding at the campus.
Students came to him and said, Bana Principal, they are coming to beat you, because they had armed themselves with the sticks and stones, each one saying we must beat him so that he can go for treatment. So when he came, he chased them away. He said, no, don't scare me, you go, I will handle them. So he walked out to meet them. They were coming from down here, and they met him at the steps. That is the administration block, this small building behind here. He came out to address them, and then they pulled him from the steps and started beating him, demanding money. He tried to go to the zero grazing. They pulled him back, and he told them, come, I will give you your money. Let us go to the finance office, I give you the money. But some were saying he's lying, money is not there, money is in the bank, and so on. So people were throwing sticks and stones at him. And understand somebody threw a stone and hit him here.
What had started as a protest against the school principal had turned into a deadly killing of a school administrator by the very students he had sought to serve.
Actually, I went and looked at him. He was just there, breathing and motionless.
Waliingia kwa gate, wakapiga watchman, akapita na yeye, wakaingia kwa ofisi, alikuwa kwa ofisi. Yeye akakaa tu kwa ofisi. Driver akakuja akimwambia kwamba toka tutoroke. Baba anawaambia nimekosa nini ndio nitoroke. Wanawaambia tu hivi, nimekosa nini? Let them come, you can talk. And aliwaambia hivi. So the moment they entered kwa ofisi, waliingia na kwanza nini?
The killing at Sangalo once again captured attention just 8 years after the death of 19 girls at St. Kizito Secondary School in Meru. The safety of lecturers became a subject of concern for the government. 2 days later, 19 suspects were arrested in connection to the murder of the principal. Those arrested included the institution's deputy principal, a local councillor, and several students. The killing had taken another dimension. According to the son of the slain principal, the students who killed the father had been spotted being hosted by a local politician in a restaurant near the campus moments before he died. Indeed, initial police investigation had indicated the students were high on drinks and drugs when they battered their principal to death. But what made the principal ignore the signs, the verbal warnings, and the growing tension in the college just the day before he met his death? The current administrator of the college says the principal was an experienced administrator. The slightest thought that his own students will turn on him and have him killed appears not to have crossed his mind.
That man was thorough. He was a good administrator, and he had managed different institutions, and he knew he could manage the students, but I think he didn't gauge their mood that time, because everywhere he had worked, people knew him as a good administrator.
By the time the students and lecturers implicated in killing Paul Kapwanyela were standing trial, the deputy principal and a local politician implicated in the murder were free men. The trial only lasted 5 more years for the rest of those accused.
Had known him, he was a good man.
It was very painful to us.
On February 23, 2000, 4 months after the principal had met his death at the campus, 12 suspects, among them the college 2 lecturers Omar Kasongo and Macduff Rapondo, students Samuel Kirimi Kabaka, Ronald Juma Makete, Wilfred Odhiambo, Abraham Kosgei, Ronald Rapondo, Joseph Omwere Maigwa and Ronald Frederick Kachesho were formally charged before a Bungoma court. Before the trial could commence, the state prosecutor informed the court the Attorney General at the time, Amos Wako, had decided to drop murder charges against the deputy principal, Jason Wekesa, and a local councillor, Nicholas Kisa. In a letter tabled before the trial, Magistrate the AG told the court he had taken the decision after perusing evidence placed before him. In one of the statements the police obtained by Casefiles 14 years later, a witness told the police a local politician had way before the murder told a local gathering that they wanted the principal moved from the college because he had declined to employ the local population. The politician allegedly told the crowd in the local language that there were many ways of getting rid of a snake without necessarily burning a house. The snake, the witness here said, referred to Paul Kapwanyela, at the time the college principal. The Sangalo Technical Institute chairman Dominic Hayemba Wetangula told the police a meeting held in the college days before the killing of the principal had been told the deputy principal was behind the unrest in the college. The board chairman told the police the deputy principal was later released by the police, wanted to topple the principal using the students as his cover. Another witness who penned his statement with police investigators narrated seeing the principal being beaten by 5 of the accused students who later stand trial for the murder of the lecturer. The witness told the police after the principal was knocked out as a result of the beating, the students turned on the other staff members in the college, but they managed to flee. Wanyonyi says the institution's board of governors is partly to blame for the murder of the college principal.
Receiving students year after year, and they said year 1 come between this time, year 2 like that. They received them, and the conditions were that you pay full amount of money and pay a fine. That fine was 1,000 shillings. Now the fine, I understand, was to meet the costs of the board meetings. But the chairman mentioned, when they asked, you know, some parents came along to find out why they were paying a fine, because they did not destroy anything. Why they were paying a fine? And he said, so you see, they harassed the principal. He went to hospital. He had to use the money for treatment. And they said, but we never beat the principal, because they didn't beat him. So they said, we didn't beat the principal. We have paid a fine. We must beat him so that he can use the money.
The trial of the 8 students, the only suspects now in court, stretched for a period of 5 years. At the end of the trial, the students were set free. The killing of the college principal had come to an end. The prosecution, it appeared, had carried out a shoddy job of putting behind bars the killing of Paul Kapwanyela.
Wakawacha wale wakubwa, tena wanafunzi. Kusema kweli mimi nilisituka.
But what drove the principal to entertain the threats on his life, not once, not twice, but 3 times? Did the principal walk into a trap that he knew could lead to his death, or was he a college administrator who became too trusting? The family maintains there was evidence from key witnesses who placed the 8 suspects and more at the scene of the killing.
Kesi imetupiliwa mbali. Hatukuwa nasema imetupiliwa mbali namna gani? This person died. Witnesses are there. So when they say there is no witness, I don't understand. Sikuelewa. Kwamba imetupiliwa tu mbali kwa sababu hakuna ushahidi. Na wale ambao walikuwa wameshikwa walikuwa na blood stains kila mahali. Those are also already evidence to show that they committed a crime. it was very painful to us, because we expected those people to be arrested. Tulitarajiwa wawekwe ndani, tulitarajiwa to be compensated by the government if possible, lakini mambo ikaenda tu hivyo.
It appears the prosecution advanced the weaker argument before the trial judge to warrant the freedom of those who killed the principal. The family says some of those suspected of killing their father and husband are still at large. Some are neighbors in the small village where the lecturer turned principal hailed from. At the institution, the house where the principal was dragged from on 2 occasions before getting killed still stands. The deputy principal is the tenant of the house that 14 years ago was home to Paul Kapwanyela. The institution now gets regular funding from the government. Issues of congestion and student unrest have become a thing of the past. The institution's numbers have grown since, but the story of Sangalo Institute is retold again and again. Those who killed Paul Kapwanyela are still at large. Their neighbors and former students of the Technical Institute set free on a technicality. For the family of the principal, who was appointed to head Sangalo Institute one morning, are still pushing for a conclusive end to the murder of their family member. Elmeda Sangalo suffered a stroke weeks after the husband died, maintains the state might have denied her justice, handing his killers freedom. Up until now, it baffles many why the principal downplayed the threats on his life for such a long time. Paul Kapwanyela's killers are still at large. 14 years later, the trusting principal is now a case officially filed. I'm Denison Sarigo. Good evening.